Welcome to the September 10th edition of Give Me 5 minutes with Fort Smith City Director Neil Martin, where we talk about the events that happened last week and we look ahead to what's going on this week. I hope you're having a great weekend. Let's go ahead and get after it. Give me 5. Tuesday, September 5th was a regular meeting. We voted on a number of items, and I'm just going to highlight a few of those. I encourage you to go to fortsmithar.gov/watch, where you can look at the full agenda, you can get a summary, how every director voted, or you can watch the video of the meeting. You can do that for any of our past meetings, so I encourage you to do that. Couple things that we hit on. For the most part, we were unanimous around our most of the votes, but one where we disagreed was an appeal of a planning commission approval of a conditional use for a cell phone tower up on Newlon Rd. We disagreed and we approved the appeal of SBA Communications, and that was 5-1. Director Rigo opposed us approving that appeal. So I encourage you to go watch the video and see what happened there. One of the probably the more frustrating things that we talked about was accepting consent decree stipulated penalties. So when the consent decree started, we had a number of things that we were getting fined for. One of those was sanitary sewer overflows, some treatment violations, some deadlines that we weren't able to meet associated with the consent decree. The original fine was $2.5 million. We were able to negotiate that down to $800,000, but I hate paying fines for this consent decree. I know the consent decree is a challenge for all of us and we're all paying more for it. So we had to pay $800,000 for these fines. It's very frustrating for me, and I know it's frustrating for you, but that was what we had agreed to. We agreed 7-0, but this is something I think that the board was fairly frustrated at. We also voted to table a contract for a basketball court at Creekmore Park. There's some things about the layout of this basketball court, where it was going to be located, with a ton of other green space out at Creekmore Park. So we've tabled that to the September 19th regular meeting. That was 6 in favor, 1 opposed. Director Christina Katsavis was against that. We also entered into agreement to purchase 4501 Borough Road. This is a former restaurant that we have purchased to have a substation for our police department. I think this is a good location. Chief Baker had recommended this to the board a couple weeks ago to enter in those negotiations, and it looks like we're going to be able to get that $575,000 for a substation. Now, from this, there was some discussion around Planters Road, extending Planters Road over to Mazard, and we've had a number of citizens reach out to the board about not wanting to move forward on that. And I'll have some more to talk about as we go forward. I think the discussions about Planters Road extension is premature at this point, but we'll talk about that in the future. But I encourage you to go to fortsmithar.gov/watch, where you can see everything that we talked about, not just these things that I'm mentioning, and get an idea of all the things that were in front of the board and all the things that we voted on. Tuesday, September 12th is a study session. We'll be touching on 3 items. One is around affordable housing in the city. So we'll get an update on options for affordable housing, grants, those types of things that are available to us. Probably the thing that's going to get the most attention is discussion about a roundabout at Ferry Road and Albert Pike. We've already received a lot of feedback from neighbors in that area that are opposed to it. So we'd originally talked about this a couple weeks ago, and we tabled it, and we want to talk about it a little more and get the particulars around what this is, the roundabout, what's happening. I think we approved, or we were planning to approve, a design study and allocate some money for a design study, but we wanted to kind of take a step back and talk about this a little more. So if you live on Ferry and Albert Pike, this is your time. I hope you join us to listen to some of those discussions on Tuesday. And we'll also be talking about the CIPs, the capital improvement plans for water, non-consent decree wastewater or sewer, and consent decree wastewater. A number of things on the agenda that are pretty important. As always, these meetings are at the Blue Lion, 101 North 2nd Street in downtown Fort Smith. I encourage you to come out, introduce yourself. I'd love to get a chance to meet you, and you can hear the things that we're discussing on Tuesday. That's it for this week's Give Me 5. I hope the information was informative. I so appreciate you watching this video, and I hope it made you better aware of items in front of your board of directors. We will do this again next Sunday on Give Me 5.